a look at task 6, which is the rapid prototype evaluation. Now, I mentioned in the video for task 5 that this is a self-evaluation sheet. So let me take you through this and explain what that means. So using your rapid prototype evaluation sheet, what you see are 42 criterion for under different sections. For example, you have all these criterion here under course overview and organization. So once you've created your site on D2L in task 5, you then take this rapid prototype evaluation sheet. You're then going to look at each criterion. So let's say the first one, navigational instructions make the organization of the course easy to understand and are transparent at the beginning of the course. So we're looking for navigational instructions. Present, yes or no, meaning does your D2L course site include navigational instructions for the student? Now, navigational instructions could be created by you. It could be a resource that UWM has provided. That doesn't matter. But do you have these instructions available for your learners? Yes or no? So you say yes or no, and then you give evidence for it, saying the navigational tools are provided in this section and they link to this, or whatever you want to say. Now, why is there a yes or a no? Sometimes there might be certain criterion that will not fit into the module that you are designing. In those instances, you say no, that it's not present, but then you justify why it is not there. See, any course design decision that you have is acceptable as long as you can provide a literature-based justification for it. Now, for example, I was talking to Amy the other day, and we talked about one particular activity, and I was talking about maybe she could have her students work on it in a discussion board and then kind of synthesize it into a paper. Now, given her student demographic, she mentioned that that activity would not work because, and she gave me her reasons for it. Perfectly acceptable. So then I would say that, fine, that's not necessary because you can justify it with an acceptable reasoning. So if you can give me a justification for why certain things are not there, that's perfectly acceptable. But you need to think it through and say why. Okay. Now, for example, another one would be, okay, so that was under course overview and organization. Another thing that I want to mention is you might think that I'm creating the last module in the course. Why should I have these kind of things? Now, although you might be creating the last module, these are elements that should be present in all online courses. A good online course needs to have this. So irrespective of whether you're creating the last module or the first module, you need to have these. So make sure that you include them. Minimum student technology competencies skills for the course are stated if applicable. So for example, if your particular module requires that students use a web conferencing tool, then you need to say that the student has to have proficiency in that. Or maybe they need to know how to use Microsoft Word. So those are things that are just statements. So it's just a document that you will upload saying minimum technology requirements, and there you have met the requirements for that particular criterion. So this is a grading rubric, and I'll be using exactly the same thing for grading your D2L course site as well. So it's completely transparent. You're even telling me where you have it so that there is no confusion about what I am looking for and what you have. Okay. Now, learning objectives are clear and easy to understand, describe outcomes that are accessible. You've already given me learning objectives in your tasks, and I have provided feedback on your objectives and told you what is missing and how to improve it. So if you've taken all that feedback in, it will come out in your D2L. If you're wondering where will these show up, I hope you've noticed the objectives that I put on top of every module to tell you what are the objectives for this module. So that's the kind of thing where you will include, so that your learner knows where it is and you will be able to show the learner as well. Okay, resources and materials are appropriately authenticated and cited, current and or timely. So using a resource, a journal article from 1998 would be a problematic because it's not timely. However, there are some seminal works in different subject areas that are old, but like again, they are seminal works and hence they will be cited. So that's your evidence or your justification to say that yes, most of them are timely, but this one isn't because it is this work that has to be cited. So like I said, it is your justification and your evidence that matters most here. Okay. Another one, learner interaction. Do you have netiquette instructions? Do you have guidelines for collaboration if that's something that's happening? Now, you might not have guidelines for collaboration because you don't have any collaborative activities. Fine. So that's your explanation for why you don't have that available in your particular D2L course site. Okay, so you then go down each of these criterion, you mark yes or no, and then you provide evidence for it. Okay, now if you look at your syllabus, you will notice that rapid prototype evaluation has 84 points associated with it. So how do these 84 points break down? There are 42 separate criterion on this form, which means 2 points per criterion, right? So the 2 points are in how well you justify the presence or absence of these particular elements. That's what I'm looking for. How well can you tell me where they are and why they are or they are not there? Okay. If you are going to give me repeatedly sentences that go yes, on D2L course site. Yes, on D2L course site. Well, obviously, I'm not going to give you 2 points for that, right? So it's on a spectrum from 0 to 2, 2 being the maximum for each criterion. And depending on how well you write it out, you will get the maximum points. Okay, so that is your rapid prototype evaluation form. So there are two purposes to this. One is it is an evaluation for you to make sure that your D2L course site meets the requirements of this assignment. And the second is it is a task that will be graded. Okay, and there is a Dropbox for this particular task as well.